What is advertising design? A presentation by Bethany Moxon, Jessica Daly, Rachel Dawes, Hannah Barker.
The aim of this presentation is to explain what advertising design is. According to Christopher Gilson and Harold W. Berkman, advertising is more suitably viewed as persuasive communication that is persuasive in nature and designed to obtain feedback and help achieve marketing objectives. They believe that this is what defines advertising design. However, the book Integrated Marketing Communications explains that advertising is defined as any paid form of non-personal communication about an organisation, product, service, or idea by an identified sponsor. This suggests that it's not just persuasive communication, but any type of non-personal communication. So, what is advertising design? We're going to explain this to you through a history of advertising, what forms it takes, why it exists, and where it originates. We will then reveal our definition of advertising design in our conclusion at the end.
The history of advertising design. Roman evidence at Pompeii has shown that information was often inscribed onto walls or stone slabs. Literary sources also talk about how slaves were paid a small wage to manage a business and its advertising. Advertising in this style was cheap and often free, and so people were able to advertise freely and with almost no limit to frequency. Since then, advertising has developed throughout the centuries and benefited greatly from the invention of the printing press during the 15th century, allowing mass production of paper-based media. This was thoroughly used during the late 19th century into the early 20th century, when propaganda and competitive advertising were in full swing. Advertising at this time was more about informing rather than psychologically creating a need. People were more sensitive to advertising and largely believed in the claims it made. This vulnerability was soon exploited by the government, with campaigns encouraging people to save, recycle, donate, tattle, and keep calm. It could be argued that this is where manipulative advertising started. Propaganda seemed to work best when it played with people's emotions and created implausible consequences for the public to fear. Posters such as these were commonplace in the UK and were designed to create feelings of guilt for not doing their part in the war. After the Second World War had ended, it was assumed that women were to go back to their lives as a proud housewife, providing for their husband and children. This is evident in advertising created in the 50s and some argue still today. To increase visibility in the public eye, businesses were commissioning professional designers such as David Ogilvy, John Wanamaker, and Dordain Birnbach. It is said that these few people are the founding fathers of modern advertising. This advert claims that the notable styling sure soothes the savage heart, and after one look at his Mr. Leg slacks, she was ready to have him walk all over her. Adverts such as this were commonplace in magazines and newspapers and were designed to guilt the housewife into purchasing the latest Hoover, washing machine, or coffee brand. With complaints from women's rights in the later years, the way that adverts were designed would become more equality-minded. In the 21st century, the digital media really took off. This was helped by the introduction of home PCs and the internet into homes. This enabled families and small businesses cheaper ways to advertise, and soon, adverts were on every available website.
So what forms does advertising take? Well, it can take many forms. For instance, advocacy advertising includes political, economic, and social issues and how they're promoted to the consumer. Comparative advertising compares one brand with another brand. Informational advertising gives information about that brand. Direct mail advertising is catalogues and flyers. Institutional advertising concentrates on the benefits of this product. Outdoor advertising includes billboards and messages painted on walls. This can also be known as guerrilla advertising. Product advertising is promoting a brand's product. Point of purchase advertising, also known as point of sale advertising, are stands and promotional materials of a product that is in store for the consumer to see. Specialty advertising is when a brand promotes by using caps, stationery and glassware and usually comes free with a purchase.
Why does advertising exist? Firstly, we need advertising because it informs us of new product changes in society or changes in the law. It can also help raise awareness, such as the Make Poverty History campaigns or condom awareness adverts. Advertising also contributes to the economy greatly. In 2007, the advertising industry in America alone created a 6.4% economic growth. Also, data from 2000 shows that advertising created jobs for over 100,000 people. Lastly, advertising is mainly about the brands. is designed to create or strengthen consumer impressions of a company. For example, Cadbury's new advertising campaigns strengthen and widen Cadbury's target market through viral and interesting TV campaigns. In a social and psychological context, advertising is around for many different reasons. Firstly, in accordance to Blumler and Katz's theory of uses and gratifications, it exists to fulfill 4 needs. The first is to divert us. Advertising can take us away from everyday reality to a surreal adland. The second is surveillance, to gather knowledge from informative advertising such as public awareness campaigns. The third need is to gain relationships. For instance, you can watch a campaign and remember the characters and watch as the campaign character develops, such as Howard in the Halifax adverts. Lastly, it exists to fulfill our emotional needs, such as the NSPCC adverts. Maybe audiences could relate or empathise with a character. Advertising is also a good indication of what's happening in that society. For example, in the current economic climate, the advertising has become more viral and cost-effective, and we see upscale brands like Waitrose offering a cheap range. It can also kickstart society. During World War II, more advertising and propaganda featured women in men's places, such as work in the farms and ammunition factories. Society then followed, and women started to become equal to men by gaining employment and proving to society they were more than capable of doing traditionally male roles. It also made it acceptable to purchase certain items for females, such as the redesign of Kotex packaging in the 50s. The boxes were made very discreet so women or men could buy them without any embarrassment. As a result, Kotex's sales skyrocketed. Finally, advertising exists to be looked at. Campaigns are works of art for the world to see for free. Advertisements such as the Silver Clear Award winner for Comics National Museum or the AIDS awareness campaign by TBWA are both informative and both spectacular designs.
In conclusion, we can see that advertising has existed since the year dot. We've seen many different forms of advertising and how they evolved with our technology. Even though we have mainly based our sources on the European advertising, we have to consider the rest of the world. Places, for instance, like China, are fast approaching with regards to advertising. China's industry has expanded rapidly over the last few years, and where it's not yet developed as America, the popularity of this new revenue is growing rapidly. This global awareness has made the world that little bit closer, with people from London to the tribes of Zulu knowing brands such as Coca-Cola. Through advertising, we've created a Barbie world or a brandscape. Naomi Klein.
Overall, advertising design cannot be defined in one sentence, but the most general definition that can be given is that advertising design is mainly to introduce new products into the market and ensure it stands out above the rest.
If advertising ended tomorrow, the world wouldn't cope.
Any questions?